And check out, number one, where I learned to do that. But number two, the whole playlist is based on my cycling adventures. So, I'd say that was a heck of a decision. And there were other ones. The decision to take karate when I was a teenager. Well, I don't really need to explain that one. But the thing about that, I always wanted to do martial arts. I was a pretty scrawny kid. And there was something about seeing the great martial artists, even though most of them were past their prime by the time I was coming up, to see all of them. And they were all smaller guys. But they were able to defend themselves. And so there was always that thing in the back of my mind. And I would go out into the yard and practice what I saw. And then finally I got to a point where I had a good enough excuse. Hey there, Arlette. Welcome. Welcome to the ChiCast. How are you? I'm going to assume all is well. And since you are here, we want to know, what are memories, decisions that you made at some point? I know one, deciding to do this Tai Chi thing a couple of years ago. You haven't really looked back from that, but something else in the past that led you somewhere, and you look at who you are today and you're like, man, that was a good decision. I am really glad that I did that. Go share that for us, yeah? Because like I was saying, in karate, I was dancing about, and I was traveling with this choir around the country, and karate was like, oh, well, there's dancing, there's choreography, so this is going to be a win here. I can sucker my dad into paying for karate lessons if he's already in on the choir thing, right? So I'm taking karate. Now here we are. Boom. That wasn't the reason I went in, but here we are. But the reality is, as much as I wanted to be a tough guy and be able to defend myself, the one thing I always loved were the katas, were the moves, that zen thing that all these guys seem to have. I wanted that. I wanted to become that. And so, yeah, here we are. And that was a good decision on my part to make that move. Wouldn't you say? So tell us down in the comments decisions that you have made in your past. Interesting ones. Yeah, maybe you have a hobby now that you're building into a business, or you made into a business. One of our Tai Chi family folks used to have Judy cakes and the big bakery deal, and they're so good. And, that was a hobby that was made manifest into a profession. So what are things that you have chosen in the past that were off the beaten trail, maybe, that were solely for you? They weren't because you had to do it, or because you were expected to do it, or because everyone else did it. They were something that you felt was true to you. You needed to do it, you did it, and you've never regretted it. In fact, it kind of became an intrinsic part of who you are. And if you've never thought about that, well, here's your opportunity. That's why we do the mindfulness thing here at the ChiCast, as always. And, yeah, I'm going to take a quick sip of chi here. Warm the voice back up. Absolutely. Now, one of those other things that I did here we go. Let's see. Arlette's popping in here on Facebook. And nothing much. I did was a loss. I went into many fields: mothering, music, therapy, teaching, home care, occupational therapy, and now Tai Chi. Each of them informs who I am and what I do now. that openness to make the directions, to follow your heart. And yet there is a through line through all of these. There are many, if we took a Venn diagram out, there are multiple intersections of care and detail and art. There's a flow and a nurturing that comes out of these things, and a health bend to much of it. So there's an overlying theme in there. And that's what I'm talking about. See? Those are those decisions and things that we do that over time create an incredible person like Arlette. Right. We need to hang out, Arlette. I owe you a training session, but we're in a heat wave right now. So maybe we should like catch coffee or something and just catch up in some air conditioning until the weather breaks. That said, speaking of breaking news, of course, on my third memory, my third great decision, and that was I must have been 9, maybe 10, maybe 11, I don't know. But it came down to whatever comic book I bought first at that newsstand at the 7-Eleven. Okay. As some of you who worked with me over a couple of years, there was a time when there was a group of instructors where we actually called ourselves the Justice League. Everyone had a hero that they had assigned to themselves. It was great. It was an absolute phenomenal time. And it purely came out of the fact that they had let me have the keys to the car for a while. And yeah, that's it. I'm a nerd, and where you go, your culture spreads, right? And so as the reveal, the trailer of the new Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, comes out there in November. There's your clickbait title there, YouTube. You all thought we were going to talk about something serious, didn't you? Shame on all of you. So, oh, Arlette, thank you. You're awesome. So, Wakanda Forever comes out in November 11th, Veterans Day. No less. I just thought about that. That's going to be on Veterans Day. And, or Armistice Day, if you're outside of North America. Or United States. I think that's just the U.S. My Canadian friends, if you have a Veterans Day, I don't think it's the same day, right? What's the date in Canada? I could look it up, but it would slow all this down. And your comments get more engagement on the algorithm, so my laziness helps us all. So yes, Black Panther hits. And I never collected Black Panther as a kid, but I did run into him a lot because I was a big X-Men fan and I was a big Avengers fan, and he would bounce back and forth between the two books. And I'm not sure if he even had a book of his own or had access to it, or you only have so much money to spend. And I was like 12, so, you know. Anywho, I'm just saying that because I learned more about Black Panther as I got older, and I started working with, awesome Arlette. That's right, you are hanging out, or were hanging out there in Canada with the kinfolk, which is awesome. Awesome, so thank you for that. This is what's cool about, like, the online community and the communities that we've built and the folks that we have met through our lives, because we can all like congregate and enrich each other and what we do with each other so easily through comment sections and likes and shares and all these kinds of things. So, man, I don't know what we were talking about, movies. So we were talking about movies. First and foremost, let me say that I was a fan of the first Black Panther. I am a huge fan of the Marvel movies, of course. Black Panther is not my favorite Marvel movie. I felt that I would have liked to seen a little more development of T'Challa in that. I would have liked to have seen him have a little more agency. But I think they were going for more of like the Dark Knight route where the villain really kind of drove the story. So sometimes a weakness is going to just be a weakness, you know what I mean? And there are just Marvel movies like, I want to say like The Winter Soldier, certainly like Civil War, where the characters are just... And matter of fact, that's where Black Panther drops. And I want to say he had a little more agency in Civil War than he did in Black Panther. And when the supporting cast just kind of outshines the star, one, it makes it a great movie because you have such a vibrant supporting cast, but it does take away from the movie. If your hero, if your protagonist just isn't along the way. But the sets were great. The CGI was wonky. But there were stakes. There was great acting. I enjoyed the movie and I walked away like, yes, another win from Marvel. Even if it's not their best work, it is some of their best work. And I was very, very excited when Wakanda Forever was finally released, because YouTube has been dropping fake trailers for months, and I'm kind of like, yeah, are the real things out? Yes. All right. So I'm listening to this, I'm watching it. And first, before we even get into the trailer itself, I want to hear if you're watching, if you're gonna want number one, see Black Panther: Wakanda Forever in November. If you are a fan of the Marvel movies, because if you are, of course you're gonna go see it. But if you're not, are you gonna go see it, and why? Right? I mean, this is a cultural event, no question. This is the first big-time Marvel movie that we're getting after Endgame, where I have a feeling the stakes are we're gonna finally get to a point where we're starting to get a sense of where this thing is going. So there's a big turning point on this one. There is, of course, the death of Chadwick Boseman that looms over this movie. And we've been here before, right? Personally with me, and in the movies I love, Brandon Lee in The Crow, Heath Ledger as the Joker, and now Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther. Now, as much as I have a critique on the character, that's more on the writing than it is the portrayal. His portrayal of the character was amazing. I really enjoyed his portrayal, his passion, hey Marina, welcome to your ChiCast. And of course she's going. She's one of the cool kids. Of course she's going. So, with this cultural event happening, with the Marvel Universe pivoting, with Chadwick Boseman, his ghost sort of over it. Like I said, we've done this before. It's just a fact of reality that people pass. And we now live in a time where we all, just about all of us, leave some kind of fingerprint behind. We all leave a stamp. And there's centuries upon millennia of faceless, unknown folks who have impacted every move that you have made in your life. But now we live in a time where we can actually see those folks. And Chadwick Boseman being one of the more recent celebrities to have been lost in an active series. So yeah, that's there. There's a memoriam aspect to this movie as well. The fact that the first one was really good, and Angela Bassett's delivery, my girl, Stella never lost her groove, first and foremost. Well, Angela, I have a sense she may carry a lot of this movie, and that is gonna, this this could get into Academy Award winning territory. That's what I'm saying about that specter being over it, right? The Crow and The Dark Knight became these legendary movies in part because of the loss of the actors. And here we are once again. So I think we are knocking on something very special. And you may be saying, oh my God, you're saying that the loss of someone's death can be a positive thing. Yeah, it can be. It's still tragic, we still mourn, but it's that mourning that pushes us, that drives us, that can fuel us into passion, into that which is worth waking up for in the morning. When you can't find your own fuel, you can borrow the fuel of those you know, especially those from the past that were your inspiration, that did inspire and impact you. And that was one of the things that came up in the trailer, because it started off no less with No Woman, No Cry, an updated version of it, which paid beautiful homage to the original and brought the memory of now gone 41 years Bob Marley. And it just so happens that, like many in the early 2000s and in the 90s, and maybe even still now, one of the first pieces of music you got was the Legend CD. And I played it and I loved it, and so I got the entire collection. And then I got into his ska music and his early reggae, and I have a whole library of almost, probably 16 or 17 CDs worth. I know that's dating it, but check it out, right, of songs. So I was a big fan. He is probably my favorite musician. And one of the reasons was, to the ear, his music sounds happy and joyous, and there's a groove to it, and you can dance. But if you listen to it, if you hear the lyrics, they're soulful, they're sorrowful. There's a sadness in them. In some you would say anger, but anger is just sadness's mask. Right? Anger comes from loss. And there's no loss unless there's grief. Grief and sadness, they're cloaked in anger. So the lyrics and soulfulness, especially of No Woman, No Cry, where it talks, about many of the hardships and the community and the need for endurance, stick-to-itiveness, and holding on to the things that matter and the things that are close. It's touching, and if you haven't listened to those songs, listen to them now. Go back, revisit. His grandson is performing now, and he sounds exactly like him. Even more than his sons, he sounds exactly like him. So, if you haven't listened to Bob in a long time, use this moment, this present day moment, where we have this huge cultural event coming up in November, a huge artistic event as well, as the Marvel Universe is going to do a thing. This thing is going to be big. I think we're on to I think it's going to be on an Academy Award winning thing. I think we're going to be talking about Angela Bassett in March. I really, really do. Just those 3 lines in the trailer, get you right in the heart. I'm telling you, I'm getting choked up just thinking about it. So, tell us down in the comments, what are the artists and musicians that had impacts on you? Who were the people that you listened to? Especially if they weren't North American artists. What were the songs that you grew up with that touched you, that drove you in many ways the same way that those decisions made? Because the type of music you listen to is also a decision we make. So where did that lead you? Where has your music taken you? And who were those artists? Who are your favorite artists, if you have that big time artist? And why? Tell me in the comments there. And while you're there, as always, hit that like, share, and subscribe buttons, as well as that bell. Ding ding. And if you're on Facebook, make sure you follow the page and share on your timeline and in your feed so that we can get a little more mindfulness in the everyday, right? A mindful touch for the rest of us. Beautiful, beautiful is the world that's around us. What did we talk about? We talked about our memories of good decisions, a cultural event, and an amazing musician. And so, I really want to thank you guys for joining me today on the ChiCast. As always, as you go through life, as you go through your day, remember, keep things simple. Give everyone your patience. And most importantly, treat yourself with compassion. Until then, or until the next